She held on to me like the world would fall apart if she didn't. And maybe, in some quiet way, it already was. Morning light spills through the thin curtains of her seaside home, painting soft gold across the wooden floor. The world outside is calm, waves brushing the shore in rhythm with the quiet hum of a kettle warming on the stove. The air smells faintly of salt and roasted coffee beans, a scent that seems to linger in every corner of this place. He stands at the doorway, hesitant but familiar, holding a small box of tools. He came to fix something, a loose hinge, a wobbly chair, maybe just to have an excuse to see her again. She greets him with a smile that feels effortless, but there's a knowing behind it, a warmth that makes it hard for him to look away. She moves around the kitchen with the kind of grace that comes from years of self-assurance. Every motion deliberate, unhurried, quietly magnetic. Her voice carries a softness that seems to steady him. "You didn't have to come this early," she says, handing him a mug. Their fingers almost touch, almost, and the brief nearness makes his chest tighten. He tells her he doesn't mind, that the mornings are easier here, that he likes the sound of the sea against her windows. She smiles but doesn't answer. As he works, he steals glances. The light catches in her black hair, revealing faint streaks of silver that only make her look more beautiful. Not fragile, but real. The corners of her eyes have small, delicate lines, the kind that come from laughter and long summers. There's something grounding about her presence, something that slows his pulse without ever letting it rest completely. She hums softly to herself while tidying the counter, lost in her thoughts. He finds himself wishing he knew what she was thinking, if she ever feels the same stillness when he's near. When she turns and catches him looking, he quickly lowers his gaze, pretending to tighten a screw that doesn't need it. "Careful," she says lightly, amusement in her tone. "If you fix everything too fast, I'll have no reason to call you back." The words land softly but stay with him longer than they should. He laughs, uncertain if she meant it as a joke or something more. There's a pause, comfortable, lingering. He realizes how quiet it is here. How different this silence feels from the kind that weighs on him elsewhere. When he finishes, she insists he stay for coffee. They sit across from each other, the table between them suddenly too small. She asks about his work, his plans, the kind of small talk that doesn't stay small for long. He answers honestly, surprised by how easy it is to speak around her. As he leaves, she walks him to the door. The sunlight follows, warm and forgiving. "Thank you," she says simply, her hand brushing his arm as she reaches for the doorknob. It's such a small touch, a passing moment, but it feels like something has quietly shifted. And though neither says it, both sense it. This wasn't just another morning. It was the beginning of something neither dared to name. The afternoon sun slants through the tall windows, filling the living room with a honey-colored glow. The hum of a ceiling fan turns lazily above, stirring the warm air, just enough to keep it comfortable. Outside, cicadas sing in steady rhythm, and a soft breeze pushes against the curtains, making them breathe in and out like quiet sighs. He's back again, sitting on the edge of her couch, pretending to read something on his phone while she moves through the space, calm, composed, completely unaware of how much he's watching. Every motion she makes seems unhurried, graceful in its simplicity. She pours water into a line of potted plants by the window, humming under her breath. The sound is soft and tuneless, but it pulls at him in a way words never could. Her black hair, long and slightly tousled, falls over one shoulder as she bends to adjust a flower pot. The sunlight catches in the strands, and for a moment he's lost in the quiet beauty of it. The way time seems to slow around her, the way her presence makes the air feel heavier, thicker with something unspoken. He takes a sip from the iced tea she poured earlier. The glass is sweating in his hand. He tries to focus on the condensation running down his fingers, but his attention keeps drifting back to her. The small domesticity of the scene, the plants, the faint smell of soap and citrus, the sound of her bare feet against the wooden floor, feels too intimate for what they are, and yet not nearly enough for what he feels. When she finally looks over, her eyes catch his for half a second too long. "You look miles away," she says with a teasing smile. He shrugs, smiling back. "Maybe I just like the view." She laughs softly, shaking her head, but the faint color that rises in her cheeks doesn't go unnoticed. She turns back to the window, pretending to fuss with a leaf that doesn't need fixing. The air between them shifts, lighter on the surface, but heavier underneath. He sets the glass down, uncertain what to do with his hands. "You've made this place feel alive," he says after a pause, nodding toward the plants, the sunlight, the easy warmth of the room. She glances at him over her shoulder, her expression softer now. Maybe it's not the place, she says quietly. Maybe it's just the company. The words hang in the air like something fragile, too tender to touch, too meaningful to ignore. For a long moment, neither speaks. The sound of the fan fills the silence. He studies her profile, the gentle strength in it, the faint smile lines, the calm focus, the way her beauty doesn't announce itself, it just exists. He feels a pulse of something between admiration and ache. It's not the rush of infatuation. It's slower, deeper. The kind of feeling that builds quietly and takes root before you even realize it's there. When he finally stands to leave, she walks him to the door again. Their shoulders almost touch, and that small distance, that inch of air between them, feels like the most impossible space in the world. She smiles, soft and unguarded. See you soon? He nods. Yes, soon. And as he steps outside into the golden afternoon, he realizes he's already thinking of a reason to come back. The sky outside glows with the soft orange of late sunset, pouring through the wide kitchen windows and bathing everything in warm light. The air smells faintly of rosemary, garlic, and something simmering on the stove. She stands beside him at the counter, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair loosely tied back. The kind of small detail that makes her look both elegant and effortlessly human. They're cooking together, though it's more her teaching and him trying to keep up. He chops vegetables while she stirs a pot, offering the occasional gentle correction. Not too small, she says, glancing sideways at him with a smile that disarms him every time. You're not performing surgery. He laughs, pretending confidence he doesn't feel. I'm trying to make it perfect. She shakes her head, still smiling. Nothing perfect ever tastes good. It needs a little bit of mess, a little bit of life. The sentence lands heavier than she intends, and for a moment, the space between them quiets. He looks at her, really looks, the curve of her cheek, the faint laugh lines, the glimmer of light reflected in her eyes. There's warmth there, but also something deeper, a trace of sadness, maybe, or longing she doesn't speak about. When she turns to reach for a spice jar, her arm brushes against his. It's barely a touch, yet his breath catches. The closeness feels like static, soft, electric, real. He doesn't move away, and neither does she. The air between them seems to thicken, filled with unspoken words neither is brave enough to let out. She breaks the silence first, voice softer now. You're quiet. He swallows, just trying not to mess it up. Her smile returns, smaller this time, a little shy. You're doing fine. He can feel the warmth radiating from her, close enough to sense her breathing, steady, calm, grounding. He wonders if she can hear his, which feels uneven, too quick. The moment stretches, not in awkwardness, but in something fragile and electric, the kind of silence that feels alive. When she finally steps back, it's slow, like she's remembering herself. Could you get the plates? She asks, voice returning to casual rhythm, but there's a flicker in her eyes, something unguarded that wasn't there before. He nods, doing as she asks, trying to shake the weight of what just passed between them. The rest of the evening moves gently, laughter returning, words flowing again, yet every shared glance carries an undercurrent of what they both felt in that quiet second. When dinner is ready, they eat by the window, sunlight fading into soft twilight. She talks about her day, and he listens, though his mind keeps circling back to that small accidental touch. How it felt, how impossible it seemed that something so ordinary could feel so extraordinary. As he leaves later, he hesitates at the door, wanting to say something. Anything, but all that comes out is, dinner was great. She nods, smiling faintly. It was, but in the pause that follows, both of them know they're not talking about the food. The next morning, sunlight spills across the cafe terrace, bright and cheerful in contrast to the heaviness sitting quietly between them. The air carries the scent of roasted beans, baked pastries, and faint perfume drifting from passing strangers. She sits across from him at a small wooden table, wearing a light linen blouse and sunglasses perched in her hair. Her presence draws the eye, not because she's trying to, but because everything about her seems composed, effortless, at ease in a world that often feels too loud. He stirs his coffee absently, watching the swirl of cream dissolve into dark brown. The clatter of cups, the murmur of distant voices, the rhythm of life all around them. None of it seems to reach the small space they share. She's smiling, the kind of polite, careful smile people wear when they're thinking too much. You've been quiet today, she says, her voice gentle but knowing. He exhales, the words pressing against the back of his throat. I was just thinking about yesterday. She tilts her head slightly, eyebrows lifting. About dinner? He nods, though both of them know that's not really it. About us, I guess. Her fingers pause midway through tracing the rim of her cup. She looks at him for a moment, a long, searching look that feels both kind and cautious. Us, she repeats softly, like she's testing the sound of the word before deciding whether it fits. He hesitates, glancing down at the table. People talk, you know? They notice things. I don't want to make anything harder for you. A faint laugh escapes her, quiet but not amused. Harder for me? She repeats, a hint of surprise in her tone. Do you think I haven't lived long enough to stop caring about what people think? Her voice is calm, but there's a flicker of something in her eyes, pride maybe, or the sting of being misunderstood. He looks up quickly. That's not what I meant. It's just, he trails off, unsure how to finish without sounding foolish. She watches him for a moment longer before sighing, her expression softening. You're kind, she says finally, but you worry too much. He smiles faintly. Someone has to. That earns him another quiet laugh, this one real. She takes a sip of her coffee, setting the cup down carefully. Do you ever think, she begins slowly, that maybe we're both holding our breath around each other? The question catches him off guard. He studies her face, the slight smile lines near her eyes, the calm composure that only hints at the emotion beneath. Maybe, he says after a beat. But I'm not sure if it's because I'm afraid to exhale, or afraid of what happens if I do. Her eyes linger on him, thoughtful, tender, a little sad. Then maybe, she murmurs, we should just breathe. The moment feels lighter, yet something unresolved lingers in the air, like a song that doesn't quite end. They finish their coffee slowly, both smiling, both pretending the conversation didn't just peel something raw open between them. When they part ways outside, sunlight spilling across the street, he turns once to see her walking away, calm, steady, and impossibly composed. But even from behind, he can tell she's thinking too, maybe about the same thing he is. That the more they try to keep their distance, the closer they somehow seem to get. Afternoon rain arrives without warning, soft and steady. The kind that doesn't storm, but lingers, filling the air with the scent of wet earth and the faint sweetness of blooming jasmine. The world outside her porch turns pale and blurred, raindrops tracing long paths down the glass panes. Inside, everything feels quieter, smaller, as if the rain itself has asked them to lower their voices. He's there again, standing barefoot just inside the doorway, holding an armful of damp laundry they'd both rushed to bring in before the downpour started. His shirt clings to his shoulders, hair damp, a few drops still running down the side of his neck. She laughs as she closes the door behind them, a low, easy sound that fills the space like sunlight might on another day. Every time you help, something goes wrong with the weather, she teases, brushing a few raindrops from her sleeve. He smiles, setting the bundle on the couch. Maybe the sky just likes to make things dramatic. She chuckles softly, shaking her head. It's doing a good job. For a moment, they just stand there, close but not touching, watching the rain bead and slide down the window. The soft patter fills the silence, rhythmic and calming. She exhales, slow and thoughtful, as if letting go of something she's been holding in all day. He watches the movement of her hands as she folds a towel, the way her fingers move with practiced care. There's something deeply human about her. No pretense, no performance. Just a quiet steadiness that draws him in every time. He steps closer without meaning to, reaching to help her. Their hands brush briefly over the same fabric, and this time, neither pulls away. Her eyes lift to his, and the laughter that lingered a moment ago softens into something else. The kind of silence that replaces words, where everything that needs to be said already hums beneath the surface. He wants to tell her that her presence steadies him, that the world feels less restless when he's near her. He wants to tell her that her laughter feels like home. But the words stay locked behind his ribs, too fragile to release. Instead, he says quietly, "You always make things feel simple." She folds the last towel, smiling faintly, though her eyes give her away. "They're not simple," she murmurs. "We just pretend they are." The truth of it sits between them like a soft ache. He nods, unsure what to say next. The rain outside grows heavier, drumming against the roof, as if echoing the words neither of them can speak. She steps closer, close enough that he can feel the warmth radiating from her skin, the faint scent of rain and lavender from her hair. "Thank you," she says softly, though for what he isn't sure. "For the help? For staying? For not asking too many questions?" He smiles gently. "Anytime." Their eyes hold for a moment longer, steady, searching, before she turns toward the window again, arms folded loosely across her chest. Outside, the rain continues to fall, but inside, something has quietly settled. They don't name it. They don't need to. It lives in the space between breaths, a confession made not with words, but with nearness. The evening is painted in gold. Sunlight pours through the wide-open windows, stretching long and soft across the floorboards, catching the dust in the air like tiny floating sparks. The scent of fresh air and jasmine drifts through the house. It's quiet, not the comfortable quiet they're used to, but a careful one, as though both are afraid of what might happen if they speak too soon. He stands by the table, absent-mindedly tracing the rim of his glass. She's at the counter behind him, drying her hands on a towel. The small sounds, the soft thud of a drawer closing, the faint rustle of fabric, fill the silence that neither seems ready to break. When she turns, her expression is calm, but there's a weight behind her eyes. She looks like she's been holding something back, maybe for days, maybe much longer. He senses it, the way one feels a shift in the air before a storm. He finally says her name, voice low, steady but unsure. "Can I ask you something?" She nods, her movements stilling. "Of course." He hesitates, choosing his words carefully. "Why do you always keep me close?" The question lingers there, between them, open, dangerous, impossible to take back. For a moment, she doesn't move at all. Her eyes flicker to his, then away again, as if the truth is too bright to look at directly. A faint smile curves her lips, the kind people wear when they're about to say something that costs them to admit. "Because," she says slowly, "letting go would hurt more than staying near." The room feels suddenly smaller. He exhales, realizing how fast his heart is beating. The late light glows around her like a halo, not saintly, but human, raw, vulnerable. He steps closer, close enough to see the soft tremor in her hands, the faint rise and fall of her breath. "You say that like you're afraid," he murmurs. "I am," she admits. Her voice is steady, but her eyes, they betray her. "You remind me what it feels like to be seen. And that's a dangerous thing." He swallows hard, unsure whether to move closer or step away. "Then why not just let it happen?" Her gaze lifts to meet his, direct, searching. "Because feelings like that, they change things. And I don't want to lose what's already here." There's a long silence. The sound of the breeze through the curtains fills it, soft and rhythmic. He doesn't know what to say, so he doesn't. Instead, he reaches out instinctively, not to claim, not to demand, just to reassure. His hand finds hers, and for a moment she lets it stay. Her fingers are warm, but there's tension there too, the quiet strength of someone trying not to tremble. She looks at their joined hands, then up at him again. "You make it hard to stay still," she whispers. He gives a small, sad smile. "Maybe we were never meant to be still." Her lips part, like she might answer, but the moment breaks when a gust of wind flutters the curtains and carries in the sound of the sea. She pulls her hand back gently, folding her arms as if to steady herself. The light fades a little, but the air still hums with everything unsaid. For the first time, neither of them pretends anymore. And that truth, as fragile as it is, feels both terrifying and necessary. Morning comes softly, with no grand announcements, just the quiet rhythm of waves beyond the window and the gentle rustle of wind through open curtains. The world smells of salt, toast, and orange peel. Light fills the kitchen like water spilling into a glass, bright and forgiving. He's there early again. It's become a quiet ritual neither of them names. The kettle whistles faintly as she pours water into 2 mugs, her movements steady, unhurried. She wears a simple cotton shirt, hair loosely tied back, the kind of effortless beauty that comes from being comfortable in her own skin. He sits at the table, watching her without meaning to. Everything about this morning feels different, lighter, but edged with something bittersweet. The weight between them has shifted. Not gone, but gentler now, as if they've both made peace with what can't be changed. When she sets the mug in front of him, their fingers brush. It's not electric this time, not charged or hesitant, just warm. Familiar. Human. "Did you sleep?" she asks, her voice still soft from the morning. He nods. "A little." She smiles faintly. "You always say that." He laughs quietly. "You always ask." It's simple, ordinary, and yet the exchange feels like its own kind of intimacy. 2 people circling around words they don't need anymore. They eat breakfast in companionable silence. The clink of cutlery, the distant sound of seagulls, the bright hum of the morning. It all feels like a slow exhale after holding their breath for too long. She looks out the window as she speaks, almost to herself. "Do you ever think about how strange it is the people who come into your life and change it without ever meaning to? He looks at her for a long moment before answering. All the time. She nods, smiling wistfully. I used to think people came and went, that nothing really stayed. But maybe some things do, just not in the way we expect. Her words hang in the sunlight, soft and true. He wants to say something, to tell her she's one of those things that will stay with him no matter what. But instead, he just says, I'm glad I met you. She looks at him then, really looks, and for a heartbeat, the world narrows down to that single exchange. Me too, she says simply. More than you know. The kettle clicks off. The sea keeps its rhythm. The morning feels endless for a few seconds longer. When it's time to leave, he doesn't rush. He stands by the doorway, the same one where all of this began. She walks him there, like always. There's no big goodbye, no lingering glance charged with what-ifs. Just two people standing in the soft light, knowing they've already said everything that mattered. Take care, she says, her voice gentle but steady. He smiles, eyes warm. You too. As he steps outside, the sunlight catches in his hair, and for the first time, he doesn't look back. The sea breeze carries her faint laughter after him, light, unguarded, free. And though nothing was ever defined between them, both understand what they built. Not a love story in the ordinary sense, but something quieter, deeper. The kind of bond that doesn't fade, only softens with time. Sometimes love doesn't need to be claimed. Sometimes it only needs to be understood.